Alright, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to American Truck Simulator. We got a lot of things going on today, so yeah, timestamps down below in the description if you don't want to sit through all of it. If you don't, I don't blame you. First thing that we are going to do, we got the Viper all set up here with Pizzster's Timpte Super Hopper. And we are down in Mexico with the Reforma Map. We're going to take a short drive. We're going to be hauling 52,920 pounds of barley from, and I know I'm going to nail this pronunciation, Delicias to Ciudad Jimenez. I absolutely butchered that, and I'm sorry, but that's where we are. For whatever reason, we're picking up barley at the UPS here, and we're taking it to the rail station. So that's what we're going to be doing in the first part, and I'm going to be giving you a little bit of update, because I've been having some stick issues, some shifter base issues, and I wanted to let you know something that I did to kind of fix it, but give me another problem. And yeah, depending on your preference, that may be a good fix for you. Otherwise, you know, we're going to have to be looking for an alternative thing. The second part of the video, as you might see in the bottom right hand corner, I actually have all of my gauges up in the dash, and I've even added something else here. In the second part, after we get done delivering this, I'm going to show you everything that I put together. I'll give you a few tips for what I did that worked, things that I did that were stupid, were inefficient, and maybe ask for your guys' help and advice. You guys can learn from my mistakes, and maybe there's a few things that I did that make it look actually pretty nice. So let's get into the drive. Again, timestamps down below. The drive is first, and then I'll talk to you about the dash afterward. All right, let's get going. All right, we got the Viper all fired up here. Let me see if I can kind of ad-lib and get things going. Windows down, those still work. Windows up, windows down, we're good. Alright, we have a 525 horsepower SlavJerry Cummins N14. This is his newly remodeled one. First time showing it on the channel. And I also have a 5.4 Spicer. That's why you see the twin sticks both in the truck and in the lower right hand corner. I do have both cameras going. As you know from my last one, I was running into frame issues. I got rid of the camera on the bottom left, and it seemed to work okay. I may have to do that. We'll see what frame rates does. Frame rate down here in Mexico with this Reforma map is definitely hit or miss, but we'll give it a shot. Alright, let's get ready to go. I really like this truck and trailer combo. I think we are, yeah, 53,000 pounds. I'm going to go ahead and leave the lift axle down on the truck for this one. I don't think we're going to go that way. Need to get her out on the road so we can hear this Cummins N14. Doesn't look like anything's coming that way. We're going left? Is that what he said? Yep, we're going left. I'll leave the windows down just for a little bit so you guys can hear it.
After 100 yards, turn right.
And then I'll tell you a little bit about shifters and what sort of progress I've made. Ooh, that was just a quick stutter. Doesn't seem to be a long-lasting one, I think we're good. Yep, we're still running 60 frames a second.
After 100 yards, turn right. Turn right.
It's so nice. My gears are actually... my stick's actually staying in gear. I mean, the stick never moves anywhere. It's just that the game wasn't registering it. Oh, you know, I forgot to put that up there so you guys can see what gear I'm in. Let's hear this Cummins. Wow, it sounds good. A little bit of stutter in there.
Stay on the right lane. After 50 yards, right turn ahead. Turn right.
Really? It's always an adventure driving down here in Mexico. Still rocking Z-Mod's FOV. I like it.
Go straight.
Ooh, another little jump, but quickly back up to 60. Alright, I'm gonna get the windows up. Maybe? Maybe? No? Oh, they were already moving up. Anyway, so I went, found something on eBay for the shifter base, and it's a replacement spring, but the real spring is about that big, if you can see it on the camera on the lower right-hand corner. It's about that big, that long, and the one that they gave me is about only half the length. And for whatever reason, it has fixed my issues of the game not flickering on and off, like registering it going in and out of neutral when the stick is pushed into gear. The issue is it just falls in and out of gear rapidly, and I don't even move the stick, not even hitting the clutch or anything. So that little spring replacement has seemed to fix it. So it always registers that I'm in gear. So that was really cool. That was recommended by Dan, Goggles56. And what is confusing though, what I don't understand, is that spring was supposed to increase the tension on this first stick here on the left. And what it did was, because the spring is so short, the end of it, there's a little ball bearing that goes in, and because that spring is so short, it's not putting like hardly any tension on it. So this stick, even though the problem is fixed and it goes into gear, I now have no spring like action at all. It's just like a dead stick.
Stay on the right lane. After 50 yards, right turn ahead.
Just barely getting slowed down for some reason, and I normally have the whoops, wrong gear. I normally have some buttons up here, like just above, right up here, and just kind of in a temporary box because I haven't finished building all my main button box, and that's normally where I have my Jake. So I've moved it temporarily over to this this other device, but I guess I chose the option of press the button and it just, like, I have to keep pressing the button in order for the Jake to stay on, so I kind of screwed that up. So I'm kind of ad-libbing with the buttons today.
Stay on the left lane. After 15 yards, left turn ahead. Turn left.
So that's kind of my that's kind of what's going on with the shifter right now. So you can see it's got like no tension whatsoever. I try to keep it in neutral. I think you can see this on the camera. Try to keep it in neutral, and it just falls. There's absolutely no spring action. So that spring was supposed to make it much more difficult, just making it a stronger spring, but because it's so short, it's not having the impact to contact and have that effect. I've contacted the person at eBay, and he said he was going to get me a longer version. He said he used to sell it in a longer version. What's going on? What's going on? I don't know what's going on. It's like I don't have power now. What was going on there? I don't know what was going on. So yeah, he said he used to sell it in a longer version and people were not happy with it, so he made it a shorter version, and everything stays in gear now, but there's no tension on it. So I'm going to call it solved though, because my problem was always that it just wasn't staying in gear. That was my problem. Did I hope as a byproduct that I was going to be able to get a little bit more tension on it? Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, because it's a harder spring. But that is not what happened at all. So, sacrifice whatever feel that I had in terms of tension and springs, surrendered all of that so that I can get my gears to actually stay in. So, it's, I guess we can call it fixed. Yeah. Anyway, and yeah, I'll kind of give you more of a walkthrough again after this drive and tell you more about the details of the dash. But I just got this dash put in yesterday, and essentially what I have is I've got three on the left, three on the right, and then the speedometer and tach in the center. And what I have up here in the center, which is actually Velcro to the back, is the tiniest phone you have ever seen. I didn't know that they made them this small, but it is a 2.5-inch Android phone. I just made sure that it had the capability to do Wi-Fi, and it had the Google Store on it, so I could get the dash panel app, and it's basically functioning right now. It's my indicators, so turn signals, showing my headlights, my parking lights. It'll show if I'm low on brake air pressure, if my beacons are on, low oil pressure, all those kind of indicators that you have, low battery, that sort of thing. And it's just Velcroed to the back, and it seems to be working fine. That was the one thing that I wanted. I wanted some sort of indicator, because that is what I was going to be losing if I eventually, like, you know, now that I have this whole dash. Obviously one of the things that I can do is I can get rid of the steering wheel in the game, scoot up, and so I can, the only thing I see is the hood, which is what I would see in real person. And I'll do all that once I get this right panel finished. And once I get, so this panel, I got to the point today where I cut all the holes in it, and I put this wrap over it. If you can see that, maybe. Right there. But I haven't had the time to actually put in... Yeah, that's not going to happen. For some reason, it's not wanting to... it's being very, very touchy. Off the line. I'm in the lowest gear here. It's like it just doesn't have power or something. Like I need to tweak the torque on this transmission. This is a transmission that I made, so I have to go in there and make a few tweaks, I guess. That's not even a big hill. It's a small incline. You know what? I don't have time for this today. Nope. And we're gonna have the same problem again. So, I was listening to a video from Goggles56, and he was talking about when he was first reviewing Zmod's new 3406B. I wasn't aware of this because I'm not a truck driver, but apparently you're supposed to almost release, like, fully the clutch before you even give it any gas, and that is a pretty good indicator in this game whether or not an engine developer is like on top of their game, because that's normally in a car you give it a little bit of gas while you're letting out the clutch, and apparently according to Dan you're not even supposed to apply any gas until you've got that clutch out, and you can just remove the clutch and watch it lurch forward. And maybe it's the transmission that I have in here, but I'm not having that that experience with this drive. Yeah, bro, you see me merging. Like, I'm literally like 10 times bigger than you. You gotta deal with it. So I'm gonna go ahead and review that file. Meanwhile, we're just kind of going through the gears here. I love... See, there's a lot of things in Reforma that really test your driving. Like, a lot of very sharp corners, especially if you have anything longer than like a 40-foot trailer. It's going to be challenging. Having you come to a dead stop, and then the first thing that it has you do is go up a hill when you're just trying to get momentum out of the gate. But I like it. Really liking Reforma. There are some places, like I've shown in previous videos, that just for whatever reason they just crush frames, and then just like that you're out of it. I don't know what's going on. I know some people were saying that Reforma hasn't been updated in a little bit, so that kind of thing can be expected.
After 15 yards, left turn ahead.
I really wish I had assigned that Jake differently so I don't have to press down the whole time to get the Jake going. Used to doing it with a toggle switch, but the new panel's coming in either tomorrow or the next day, so for this drive, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to kind of deal with it.
Turn right. Turn left.
And then we're gonna pull into here, and for whatever reason we are going to drop off our Barley
Reached your destination.
right here. Oh, they gave us easy parking though. Last time they had me go way in the back in that corner where you have to like U-turn back in, and that wasn't going to happen. I barely get it done. When I get it done, it's always with a cab over. No way I'm getting it done with this thing. So nice short little drive with the Viper and Pizzster's Timpte. Nice little drive to get the Spicer transmission back in the mix. The reason why I haven't been using the Spicer too much is because the stick wasn't staying in gear. And if you think that moving two sticks is hard, try to move 2 sticks when one of the sticks won't go into half of the gears. So that's why I've been kind of laying off that, but it's nice to get back into it. Whenever I have the Viper, I like to rock this 5.4. All right, get the brakes on, get the engine off. All right, so here we are in Ciudad Jimenez. I definitely said that right. Nailed it. Yeah, so let's get into part 2, where I'm going to go over a little bit about the gauge dash that I have got going on. If you don't care about that, it's no problem. Thanks for tuning in for the drive. Give me the likes. If you like what you saw, go ahead and give me the thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. I will see you guys on the next video, unless you're going with me to take a look at these gauges now. Alright guys, well, let's go ahead and take a little bit closer look at what's going on here. These 3 gauges that I have on the left, and you can kind of see if I move the steering wheel, there we go, we got 3 of them. We got oil pressure, water temp, and oil temp. And basically what I did was I have these, it's just like this plastic material, this thick plastic material. It's got a little bit of give to it, you can see. It's got a little bit of give to it, but it's pretty solid, and it's got texture on it. It's got a glossy side, which I'm not using. Mainly stuck it to here. Drilled out the holes, and basically this is how I did the holes. Let me show you. So for the holes themselves, what I did was I used a Dremel. So I had the marked out. So I had the piece of plastic, and I actually went across where I was laying them out, like in rows and columns, and I used a little bit of painter's tape, marked it off, mainly so that I can draw the lines. I can get a rough idea where the center of the gauge was. And then what I used to actually cut out the holes was a Dremel and this thing. So what happens is the Dremel goes down into here, and the bit sticks out of here. And this is actually the wrong attachment for it right now. But instead of this bar here, essentially what happens is coming down here is a little spike, and that's you take where the center of the hole is going to be, and you take 1/8 drill bit, drill a hole through the plastic, and then that is where your sharp point, your little point, is going to hook into, and then you just adjust it to whatever size, and then you turn on the Dremel and you just spin it, and it makes perfect circles. And I didn't have a problem with it at all. This is called the Circle Cutter and Straight Edge Guide that works with a Dremel. I can't remember how much it was. I think it was, I don't remember. I'm not going to give you a quote. Sorry. But the other thing, as noted in the picture, this is actually pretty good too. Instead of using it as a circle, you can put it up against a flat edge, and this bar here will be your guide. So you can actually make a straight line. And that's actually what I did. So I didn't do it with this piece. What I ended up doing was I had a circular bit that went on the end of the Dremel, and I basically just held it up and tried to guide it as best I could, and it skipped around and it didn't make that straight of a line. But when I went to make this one, and this is the panel that is going to be over here in just a little bit. For this one, I actually did the edges using this guide. And so basically what you would do is have the Dremel pointed straight down again, and the bit would be right here. And then you just use this. Let me see if I can angle that for you. Make sure that that part is flush with the side, and then you can cut a straight line all the way across. And I just did it with a 1/8 drill bit. I didn't need anything particular. I just took my time and went slow, made sure it was stuck to the side, and it worked out pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with it. And then so basically what I've done for both of these parts is, after I drilled all the holes, then I put a vinyl wrap on here This one happens to be wood. I wish I could have got a little bit darker, although it's translating a little bit darker on the video that I'm seeing. The problem is if it catches the light just right, it's very shiny. See that? I wanted to get something with matte, and the only matte that I found was like a light gray wood. In any event, this is what I'm using. I cut this out today. I was hoping to get it installed, but I couldn't get all the buttons and then everything, all my presets lined up and everything. So this is a job that is going to happen tomorrow. These look pretty bad. They're not great at all. So the way I actually carved these out, these are going to be rocker switches that I'm going to use for the lifting axle, lowering and raising on the truck and on the trailer, and then airbags in the front up and down, airbags in the back of the truck up or down. And what I did is basically I started out with one of these stepper, what are they called? These drill bits that kind of step up. And I basically did it. I actually had a smaller one. I don't have the smaller one on me right now. But I made it so that it filled in most, if not all, of the width. And then I stopped. And so it kind of left me a circle. And after that, I just kind of filled in. And I went in using a few of these. These are burr bits. So they're like diamond plated. You can see. And they're different sizes and different shapes. And I used a lot of these to get the mass of it going. And then the hardest was always to get the corners. So I used something nice and skinny like this that had a nice fine tip. And that's basically how I hollowed out, very poorly I might add, these 4 holes for my rocker switches. I would be curious to know how you guys have done it. The last time I did it, I tried to do it with a grinding wheel, and it didn't work out very well. It didn't have much precision. This definitely worked out a lot better, and believe it or not, when the rocker switches are in there, and they do fit in there, and they lock in just fine, you won't even notice it. The rest of these were all done with various style of these drill bits. And so I just went in, measured the diameter of all the different buttons. You can see I have different holes here, so they're all going to be different, push-pull switches. They're going to be toggle switches. There's going to be momentary and latching buttons. I've got a couple smaller ones that I'm going to have mainly for the functions. But anyway, that is going to go in just like this. And so I've been having an issue where these don't stand absolutely straight. If you get them locked in tight, they bend a little bit, but that's okay because I have it set up so that they're a little bit too big, or a little bit too big. But if I go and jam it like that by moving the wood, it actually straightens out all pieces of wood. Same thing I did here. This one actually bends in a little bit. But now it's absolutely completely straight with this piece in. It's both supporting this piece of wood here with the black here on the left, but it's also supporting this pretty well. And there's very little give or very little play in this at all. So I'll have all my buttons here, and then we'll be good to go. But yeah, I think probably the coolest thing out of all this, I mean, it was fun learning about how to wire all these gauges and stuff. And if you have questions, I do have a video on how I put this together and a quick little wiring map. But this little 2.5-inch Android phone is really freaking cool to be able to see all of my displays, and I'm just a big fan. A couple things with the gauges: oil pressure, water temp, and oil temp, all are great, working 100%. Over here, I have 2 fuel gauges. This is the real fuel gauge. I bought this one first, and I was like, oh man, I didn't realize it only comes in red, so I was going to return it. But then it turns out that I was trying to get another gauge in here. It was a brake air pressure gauge, and like the tip that I gave you in the little tutorial on wiring for gauges, always see if you can find electronic gauges. I took a risk and I said, look, like this one didn't have an electronic symbol or a signal wire. It was running a wire, coax out the back to a GPS receiver that you put on your dashboard. That's meant for a real vehicle. The workaround was I put in a stepper motor and got a different board for it. I tried to do the same thing with this gauge, or with the brake air pressure gauge, but it is completely mechanical. I got it all stripped apart, and when it came down to it, the stepper motor has a little pin coming out of it. I don't have a stepper motor on, do I? No. And the stepper motor has a little pin, and that attaches to the shaft of the needle. But the needle had a different size, and it wouldn't fit on to it, so I had to do away with that gauge. I had this gauge as a backup, and I'm like, hey, well, I already can't return it, so let me go ahead and just use it. And I won't get them confused because the brake air pressure is the only one that is lit up with red. And you calibrate it with the software so you know what each of these positions are. And basically, I think that gauge said it was like 140 PSI or something, or 140 for the brake air pressure. So I know once it goes below half, that's when you're getting down to like 60. That's when the alarm is going to start going off. I know I'm going to hear it, and I'm definitely going to see it on the display too, but now I can tell once I'm revving up the engine, I can tell when it gets to the point. Once it gets back up to half, that warning noise is going to go away, and this is probably about, this 3/4 of the way is probably about 100 PSI, or 100, whatever I can't remember what units it is. So this is acting as a brake air pressure, and I distinguish them because of the color. This bottom one in the right is probably the biggest mistake that I made. The gauge works just fine. It calibrates absolutely beautiful. And the reason why I bought it was I was looking at the software, the calibration software, and I noticed that you go in to calibrate it and you tell it what gauge you have. And one of the things that it can properly communicate is fuel pressure. So I'm thinking, well, that's so cool. I'm going to go buy a fuel pressure gauge, and it has a signal wire and everything works perfect. But what I didn't realize is that drop-down list within their calibration software, it told me that their software has the capability to run fuel pressure. What I didn't realize is American Truck Simulator does not at all send fuel pressure information. So this calibrates just fine, but if there's nothing to send from the game, nothing is going to get sent to this gauge to move. So, and it's really the only other thing that I can do. Again, oil pressure, water temperature, oil temperature, fuel, a wannabe brake air pressure, and fuel pressure. So it's meant to fill in as the last gauge. The needle will never move on it because the game doesn't send that information. So it's just there to kind of look pretty. But all of my gauges work just fine, 100%. Backlighting is working just fine as predicted. The 2.5-inch Android is spot on. I'm pretty happy with this setup. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them down in the comments. I know it's not the most beautiful setup, and it's still only half done. But again, when the actual rocker switches are on here, you can't tell how crooked it is. And it looks like a more complete setup. That's just imagine some buttons and switches in there, and then it's going to be more of a complete system. So that is what is going on. That's what I've been working on over the last few days, and I will show you what the final result is when I have it in the next couple days. But thanks for sticking around for the drive, sticking around for the little demonstration with the dashboard and my progress on it. If you enjoyed what I was doing here today, go ahead and give me the thumbs up. Consider subscribing and hitting the notification button if you haven't already, so you can see all my videos. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care.